This is the benefit for Ambazonia. And this is the case we all have to make. This is the only reason it concerns us. This is the only reason we can put it on their faces. The only reason, the primary reason the US granted TPS to Ambazonians and Cameroonians. It's not
I
so
don't
much of
think
what.
did the US grant TPS to Cameroon?
Well, Mr. President,
Yes,
right
of
now,
course.
No, it didn't.
they yes,
No. I,
yes,
I've
yes,
been
Mr.
I've been I've been listening to this for so. The United States did not grant TPS to Cameroonians. It granted. I listened to the DDC's argument is perfect, but the United States did not grant TPS to Cameroon. It granted TPS to Ambazonia. It didn't just have the guts. It did not just have the guts to call it Ambazonia. And if you look at the where has the Boko Haram really made an impact? It's in Nigeria, right?
Yeah, but Mr. President,
Yes.
this is the argument we are saying. You see, this is the masking. This is the masking of the international
This
system,
is
right?
see, and wait, PS, wait. I want to talk when we get to TPS. I will tell you people why it's good news. It's such a sweet
We're
news.
already on TPS. Go
We
ahead.
are
We have
TPS.
Yes,
yes,
we
See, are
are
we
we at
have
there.
15
TPS?
more minutes.
Are we at TPS?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Go
we are
ahead. Right
TPS.
on.
Okay. Let me open TPS. The United States did not grant TPS to Cameroonians. Cameroonians have always benefited from Ambazonian struggle. We died for democracy for them to benefit. We fought for universities. They had more universities than we had. We fought for what they call parliamentary elections. They benefited. And Ambazonians have always shed their blood for these people to benefit. The United States granted TPS to Ambazonians and not Cameroonians. The lack of political courage and what I call that it is not timely yet for the US to go down that description, but they are on their way there. So nobody should ever make that mistake. Cameroonians should keep benefiting from us shedding our blood. They should go and do whatever. But Boko Haram has created more impact in Niger and in Nigeria. So if the US wants to use the argument of Boko Haram, it should grant TPS to
This-
Nigerians
to
too.
be to be fair, I'm mindful of the Cameroon military propaganda that is out there because they will just have you have just given Konyam Titus a very good segment there where he will come and quote that text that says that Cameroon and then say that we are talking different things. Just to be clear, the president is saying that the interest for TBS this time is due to Ambazonian. The appeal from the US Congress, the appeal for Ambazonians who are Americans who are in the Ambazonia Governing Council mission in the United States that plays a very good part there. The CDN and all those people were engaged in this diplomacy. It was granted because of Ambazonia, but the text says that it is granted for Cameroonians. So all those who are in Cameroon, including let me say Cameroons, including Ambazonia, legally speaking, it was granted for all of them. But we know that it is because of Ambazonia. That is what you mean, Mr. President. I hope so.
What I mean is that Cameroonians should not benefit from the TPS because it was not granted to them. And what I also mean is that um, the United States should become more bold and clear about its ongoing policy with respect to Ambazonia. But the TPS is not simply a human rights instrument; it's a political statement. Most considerations for issues of self-determination begins with a systematic violation of the right of a people to exist, and before it moves to the realm of political consideration. And so, and if you, what we should see about the TPS are the debates that were public and the debates that were private, debates that expose the reality about the conflict, educated senators, congresspeople, and US policymakers. And for the United States to have been bold to grant the TPS to Ambazonia was also being bold to send a statement to Cameroon that, you know, we now officially, through this policy, recognize that the Amazonian people are being persecuted because of their nationality, consistent with the definition of a refugee as defined by the 51 Convention and the 67 Protocol. So it's a human right protective instrument. It's also a political statement. It's a recognition of Amazonia. The recognition of statehood, independence, it comes in different stages. Recognition of conflict, recognition of the justification of a war, and recognition of the right of that people, recognition of that people, and then you move to the final stage where it is when these rights cannot be protected within the political space that it has existed before due to the unwillingness of that state or its actions in the occupied state, then it moves to the stage of recognition of the independence of that state. So this is good. And why is it also good? Last point. In our strategy for liberation, and I cue from what the PS has raised about Ukraine and our own strategy. Our strategy for liberation has been unique all through history. There is no other example in history that is similar to ours. We came to the conclusion that if we do not make this conflict an international one, we do not make the ideas of the conflict, the universal idea, acceptable as norm within the international system, right to exist, territorial integrity, sovereignty, and we will lose the argument. It will simply be defined by the enemy as, oh, some people want to create a new state. And so we have been so successful in internationalizing our struggle that parliamentarians, MEPs in the EU, MPs in the UK, senators and congresspeople in France, in Germany, it is for 8 million obscure Ambazonians who have been oppressed for more than 123 years, have had virtually no representation internationally, no lobbying groups being able to speak for us, no seasoned diplomats being able to speak for us, that are citizens in their majority out here mobilizing, campaigning, persuading, and reshaping ideas, have been able to gain this international recognition is a slap on the face of La Republique, and we should applaud ourselves for that.